Whoa! Here we are. Another edition of That GD Show with Dave, Genevieve, and our special guest, Bevin. Hey, Bevin.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Hey,
It's been so long.
I know. I was just upstairs 2 minutes ago and saw you then.
Trying
Hey,
to
Genevieve.
fix my computer.
Hi, Bevin. It's always so good to see you again. I'm so used to hearing your voice in the background, getting everything set up before the show. And it's nice to see you on this side.
Hey, babe, I got my earbuds in all by myself tonight.
I noticed. I'm impressed.
That's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. This is That GD Show. And by the way, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And we would love to hear from you. This is a call-in show. So how would they reach us, Genevieve?
Well, there's a phone number on your screen. It's right under Dave's beautiful face. It is 217-375-9933. So definitely please call in. I'm sure that you'll have lots of questions, and this is your chance to ask it all.
It really is. This is kind of what we call this is behind the scenes with ALS, and kind of a glimpse into what Bevin and I deal with on a daily basis. The idea here is that I'm aware that almost everyone that watches this show is aware that I have ALS and has been aware of that since I've been doing Dying Out Loud for 3.5 years. But what you see every week is this, my head and shoulders, and you don't see unless you know, if I adjust my glasses or something, you may see, wow, that hand looks a little weird. But you don't see the struggle with the arms and the hands and the walking. And so I just thought it'd be a good, I mean, we've been doing this about a year, right, Genevieve?
Mm-hmm.
We just right about at 1 year anniversary. And we thought it'd be a good opportunity just to kind of pause from what we normally talk about. And because we don't talk about ALS much, we've had a show or two dedicated to that, but by and large, it's just not the subject that we deal with here. And so I thought it'd be good to just to give you, the viewers, the folks who follow us and watch us, just a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, if you will. Not to get you to feel sorry for us. It's not about that. It's just about education and awareness, so that you are more not just aware of our life and circumstances, but anyone else that you run across, not just with ALS, but with disabilities or illnesses that really aren't that apparent at the outset, so that you can have a little more understanding and empathy for what people might be dealing with, but that you're not even aware of. It could be severe depression. It could be anything. And so there's just a lot going on that we don't see with folks. So that's kind of a precursor. And Genevieve has been given permission to ask any questions she wants. That doesn't mean we'll answer them, but she can ask them. But as well as any,
talk.
Yeah.
And Bevin might, Bevin might want to give. I really want to have Bevin share a bit of what this is like from her viewpoint, and we'll get into a little bit more of that. By the way, this is also because of our good friend Alan. I saw you in the chat, Alan. These shows are now available on podcast, and we're going to be creating a new intro for that, so that you don't just turn on your podcast and hear us start talking after the intro music. So, but yeah, you can now listen on podcast and not have to have your YouTube open. So that's been something we've been looking forward to. And thank you, Alan, for that. Let's see. Also, Patreon, we thank you. We really appreciate your Patreon support. It helps us do what we do, and it helps us just function better. And so thank you for those of you who, and every now and then you get a sneak preview, like Bevin is really good at making these little sneak preview videos and sending them to our Patreon supporters. So you get some extra perks as a Patreon supporter. What am I forgetting, Genevieve? I know I'm forgetting something.
I was gonna say, I feel like you've covered it pretty well. I always remember the Patreon bit. Oh, well, I know there's a trivia question.
What am I
course. I don't know if
forgetting?
you wanna-
Oh, okay. The trivia question tonight is, thank you, Genevieve. I knew I was forgetting something.
What's the trivia question about?
It's about
Your book.
when,
It comes from your book.
yes. So set that up, Bevin.
Every week, Dave asks a trivia question from his memoir, Childish Things. So it helps to have the book. It's an open book quiz. Of course, we got the audiobook. It'll take some pretty serious scanning. But anyway, he asked an obscure question for somebody
Deep dive trivia
to answer. And if you answer correctly, you win. What do you win, Genevieve?
You win an exclusive that GD Show mug. It's like this, but it says that GD Show. This is my tea mug from earlier today.
I guess we don't have our photo today. There it is.
There it is. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Ethan. Yeah, and Genevieve, you have one coming, by the way, as you know. So I'm kind of holding off till I can hand deliver that to you.
Oh, yeah.
So the question tonight has to do with Bevin. And so the
I guess I can't answer it.
No, you can't. All guests and hosts on the show are disqualified, as well as anyone who has previously won, as well as anyone who lives in a foreign country, because the Threadless doesn't ship to foreign countries. I don't know why.
Except for Canada
and Mexico. Yeah. I should say non-continental North America. Ella, thank you for your 666 Antichrist super chat. Dave, you are the best. No, Genevieve is and Bevin is, but I'm third best.
Ella, you beat Greg.
Yeah. Greg's gonna be upset about that probably. But the question tonight comes from a section in the book when I first talk with Bevin after I've been diagnosed with ALS. And the phone call or the text chat that this is about follows her sending me a song. We used to exchange songs. We would send each other a song that we liked. This is when we lived apart. I lived in Nashville and she lived here in Charlotte. So this is a two-part question because I've been giving a lot of mugs away, and I got to stop that because I need some harder questions that you people don't get. You guys are good. So what is the name of the song and the artist that Bevin sent me prior to me responding, telling her that I had ALS? It was a very hard day when I had to tell Bevin that I'd been diagnosed with ALS. Kim Possible 666 got my mug today. Tom and I are hashing out which half we each use. Hello, y'all have to share it, Kim. So, yeah, Kim was our winner last week, so she just got her mug. That's good news. We get those out pretty quick, by the way. Yeah, usually if you win, you get it within a week or so. Greg is having technical difficulties. Greg just signed in. I'm sorry, Greg. You're two Antichrist donations behind now. So when Bevin sent me a song, what was the name of the song and the artist? That is our trivia question tonight. The first one to get the answer right in the super chat. Genevieve's found it. I can tell by her smug look on her face. Scott just throwing out. Oh my goodness, Nicole, my friend, you nailed it, girl. Look at that. I just got to, Nicole is our friend here in Charlotte, and she's actually, if y'all know Oz up in Indiana, she is Oz's cousin. And so
Oh.
we got connected by Aunt Kathy. She said, My niece lives there. No, or my daughter lives there in Charlotte. You guys should meet each other. So we have, and we've become good friends. And last week, I went and hung out with Nicole at the trivia bingo, music bingo trivia, and I won the first round. And I got so excited, I knocked my drink over. But I won a $20 gift card. You got the answer right, Nicole. I will order that and hand deliver that to you.
No shipping required, huh?
No shipping required. We'll get a few of them here and have them at the house. So that was fun. Okay, so tonight, since I want to introduce our special guest, Miss Bevin Jett. Um, Bevin, tell
Yep.
us what your favorite song is. What's that song you're always humming around the house?
Oh. I'm not saying it's my favorite song, but for some reason, when I'm cleaning the house, I always seem to default to the same song from the 1980s, Psychedelic Furs, The Ghost in Yell. I don't know why. And it drives Dave crazy.
It drives everyone crazy. Her daughter used to say, Mom, why are you humming that? And Bevin doesn't even know she's doing it. It's just her
Mm-mm.
humming.
And I don't know why it's always that song. I mean, I don't
It
know,
is.
except one time when I started humming Phil Joel songs.
Oh,
Remember that?
God. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Phil Joel of the Newsboys. That's another piece of trivia that we may share. So we would love to hear from you tonight. If you've been, especially if you're watching and you've been affected by ALS, if you know someone who's had it, you deal with something yourself, anything concerning that, or any questions that you would have for me or Bevin about our experience with ALS and dealing with that. The number, once again, is 217-375-9933. Um, before I go into kind of reviewing Bevin and I's experience with all of this, Genevieve, I was going to ask you, I thought of this today. You know, you and I knew each other when we kind of connected a little over a year ago. We started planning for this show back in a year ago last summer and trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And, you know, took a while to get it going. But before that, I didn't know you, and we had never met until we met last February at the beach week. And so you were one of those that had only seen me like this, you know. Um,
Yeah.
what was your immediate, and there's no wrong answer here, but what was your immediate reaction? Oh, before we, Greg got his technical difficulties fixed and he's coming in strong.
Thank
Greg
you, Greg.
Markowski with the 49.99 super sticker. Oh boy, Greg, thank you. That is so sweet. You are such a good guy. I appreciate your support. What was your to give you a minute to now think about that,
Yeah.
but what was that like for you? Because I know that you had to see how affected I was. So take us through what your emotions were, what you thought when we first met.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a difficult question to ask because, I've known quite a few people who've had various physical or non-physical disabilities, and something that is so frustrating is that when people just immediately look at you some way because you are in a wheelchair or you're struggling or there's something different. And I feel like when you are not disabled, you have this sort of gut reaction to be like, okay, don't be weird. I
Mm-hmm.
think that, and then of course, because you're thinking about that, you're still sort of, it's like you're quieting down this ableism that I think that we all grow up with. But I think for me, because I do always see you like this and we talk every week. But I'd also seen you do talks before. I think for me, what I was worried about ahead of time was like, okay, I saw this talk that you did that's on your YouTube from however long ago. How much has this progressed? Like, it was really more so coming from a place of concern,
Mm-hmm.
of just, worrying about not even necessarily how you were doing physically, but more so emotionally. And I do have
Mm-hmm.
quite a few more questions about that, but I do think that um I think that because we have grown so close over the last, it's almost been a year and a half now, since we
Mm-hmm.
actually started talking about doing this show. Um, I think any sort of that initial um, trepidation or concern just sort of melted away.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Well, I always wonder about how people are viewing me because I know that I don't look normal when you see me in person when I'm walking. Now that my gait is much more affected than it was even back in February, definitely more than it was a year ago at this time. But my arms dangle at my sides, and I don't look. You can tell something's wrong. And I always wonder how people, not the strangers, I don't give a shit what they think of me. Um, but I don't know why, but I worry about how it's going to affect my friends. Does that make sense? I don't
yeah.
want them to be, I don't want it to hurt them, if that makes sense. I don't want them to be upset, not hurt, but
Mhm.
upset at what's happening to me. And so
Yeah.
I'm always wanting to protect them from that, and I can't.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's sort of the interesting thing about, about grief and about dying out loud is that, of course, you know so well the difficulty and challenges of struggling with your own mortality, but you also know, hey, at the end of the day, it's my loved one's problems, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
And so I do think that that concern is very much warranted, but that does put you in a difficult position
Hmm.
when you are comfortable and at peace with who you are and what you're going through, but then it's a lot more difficult to get everybody else on board,
Hmm.
you know?
It is, and as things progress, it's odd. In this ALS world, Bevin and I've talked about this. They call it your progression, and it sounds backwards because I don't feel like I'm progressing. I feel like I'm digressing. But they
You're
call it
you're
the progression of the illness, essentially. And so uh, that is something that I'm aware people are seeing, and it does affect me. I do recognize that it has an impact on people. Um,
I
Lily
think this,
Pad, LA. I want to acknowledge the super chat. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Illness changed my life completely. Thank you, Dave, for sharing your experience so candidly. Thank you. I appreciate that,
Mhm,
and thank you for your support. That means a lot.
mhm.
I'm sorry,
It
Bevan. What were you going to say? Was that?
well, I mean, the sobering reality is think back to your first ALS clinic and how did you feel when you went in there and saw all the people that also were
Oh,
suffering from
yeah,
ALS,
you were
but
there.
unfortunately further along.
I think it made
And
me, I think I broke into tears if I recall. A lot of them wheelchaired and slumped over and basically unable to do much of anything. And I think I told Bevan, I said that there's my future. This is really hard. If I didn't
but you
say
were
it, I
sort of like,
certainly
this
thought
isn't
it.
me. This isn't me. This can't be, that
This
kind of
is like, I
feeling.
don't belong here. Right. This is not who I
Yeah.
am because I was so normal looking.
And yet every single person that slumped over in the wheelchair inside is a person just like you thinking, I don't belong here. How did I get here? 2 years ago, I was fine. How did I get to this place? And that's what I think it's easy for us to do with anyone that's severely limited in function. We tend to kind of diminish them as a
Mhm,
person
Hmm.
um, because they can't do as much as the average person or something to that effect. So they're kind of less than, and we forget that no, they're just the same person as they ever were. It's just they have these limitations. Um, and the hardest is, I know what I've heard from people with ALS is that the minute you go into a wheelchair, people start talking to you very loudly.
Yeah.
You
mhm.
didn't get deaf,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
suddenly they just think your mental state has depreciated somehow. And then when you lose your voice, people just avoid you entirely because they don't want to talk through a computer. They don't want to wait a long time for you to form an answer. It's just so difficult. They don't
Well,
want
one
to
of the
go.
things we've seen, I haven't seen a lot of it yet, but I think I have seen a little bit of it. Some friends, I think people tend to pull away from you because they don't know what to do with you. They don't know how to respond to you. They don't know. It makes them uncomfortable. And for better or worse, like it or not, if many people, not many, but some people just regress to a comfort level where since this makes me uncomfortable and I don't know what to do with this and I don't know how to act, it's just easier for me to be away, to not have to deal with it. And that's, if I guess that's a good lesson here tonight. Don't be that person. Push through your comfort zone and go be with them and talk to them, and just, even if you don't know what to say, it doesn't matter. You don't have to say anything. You could just say, God, Dave, this sucks. And I'd go, yeah, it does. Let's have a drink. Can you hold that straw for me?
But on top of that is also understanding. I mean, in fact, I can just bring up what happened, 2 nights ago, Saturday night?
Yeah.
What happens is things come up at the last minute.
Yeah.
Our Dave is just too wiped out and we'll have to cancel something, or we're not able to go to something, or it's too far to walk, or it's just too tiring. Dave had plans Saturday night and he had to cancel them literally at the last minute because he fell. And he was hurting so badly he couldn't walk. And where he was going to a concert with a friend, and it meant walking to the concert, walking up and down stairs, that type of thing. And he was just like, I can't do it. And I felt awful because I knew his friend is now stuck with this ticket and no one to go with 5 minutes before the concert's about to begin, type of thing. And it was, but and Dave's, can I share what you said, Dave?
Sure.
Dave was so upset. I mean, he was just laying in bed, just hurting. And he said, people are going to stop inviting us to things because of this, And I thought, and I in turn had an outing or a party to go to with some friends that, I canceled because I wasn't only Dave alone hurting in bed, but I thought, wow, this is like the third event I've had to cancel, and you might be right. And so I would just implore people to understand that
it is what it is. I mean, if that happens, it happens. I mean, people will and it'll be harder for us to go to things anyway. I mean, that's just the harsh reality.
But don't just always keep reaching out. You're going to probably get a lot more no's than yes, but just keep reaching out, because if somebody can, they will. And I'm talking about with anybody with any sickness or any limitation, unless they say, don't call me, just don't feel that you're being brushed aside just because they can't answer the phone or they don't get back to you right away.
Bevin, do you recall when we, you were there very early on in the disease with me, but when we first, after you saw me after the diagnosis, was there any particular thing you recognized other than issues with my hands? I mean, could you have even seen that if I hadn't told you?
I didn't see anything. And it probably is why, people are like, oh gosh, how did you get involved with somebody with ALS? And I'm saying, he wasn't full-blown ALS when I met him. I mean, it wasn't that type of thing. And if you remember, you and I, we just thought we would be friends. And yet there was nothing about you that alerted me that something was wrong, except for you telling me. And the fact that you had one pinky that had started to, I guess, spasm up. But it's the only finger that has spasmed up. Yeah, all the other ones.
It's weird. This first one curled like the first month, and then I thought the rest of them were gonna, do that, but they haven't. And it's the weird, maddening, chaotic nature of this disease, and how it affects. There are certain fingers I can use to pinch something with, and there's other muscles that just don't work at all. I've tried to, in fact, we're going to show a video in a minute when I get Ethan. Hang on one second, Ethan. But I've tried to try to help people understand a little bit about the nature of it, because it's probably not what you think it is in terms of the muscles not being strong. Um, they just don't get a signal from the brain. It's like you're telling this muscle to do something, and it's a little rebellious child and is not going to do it. And there's no amount of getting stronger that will do it. Ethan, are you able to show that video? We did this video last summer just to give you a little glimpse. Maybe some loud background noise. When you try to pick up something and it's too heavy for you, you can feel your muscle straining against it, like you're trying, like your muscle is trying, but it's not able to. With this, it's just like there's no sense of strain here. There's no feeling like, oh, it's just too heavy. It's just like there's nothing responding to my brain saying pick this coffee cup up. It's just like I don't feel anything. You know,
Okay,
when
so
you're trying
like,
to pick up a heavy bag and it's too heavy and you feel it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard to explain. It's like, see, I almost tipped it over. But this, it's just the challenge is setting it down slowly because I don't have the fine motor control. So it ends up just kind of going down.
Well,
hard.
you don't have the muscles that different muscles
I don't have
operate
brakes.
flexion and extension.
I don't
Well,
have
no,
brakes.
no, different muscles operate the extension versus
You know what I mean about
flexion.
not feeling. There's no strain there. There's no sense.
It's just nothing happens.
Yeah, it's just no response. And my arm's just like, fuck you, I'm not picking up anything.
It's interesting.
A lot of people here, so okay. Well, there's a little instructional video for all of you. But that was a little over a year ago, right, Bevin?
Yeah, and it was kind of hard to see that, you were able to lift your hand up that high and do that because you can't do that.
That's what I was going to say. So, yeah, now I can't even do that. And so I've transitioned from being able to pick up the coffee cup. For a while I was having to get it and then lean back and drink it that way, but I would end up bringing it down too hard and it would splash or spill. And so Bevin got me this great it is what it is. It's a sippy cup. And so I'm regressing to my toddlerhood. And so it's this coffee mug that we put the coffee in, and I can sip it through the straw. It's got a built-in straw, and I drink most of my drinks that way now. I'm not able to pick up much of any kind of drink anymore with my arms. So it's hard to see that, isn't it, hon?
The thing is it progresses so slowly that it's like, what is the thing, the frog in the boiling water? And then so day to day, I kind of just block that in my mind. And then sometimes I'll turn around and I'll see you and I'll say, oh my goodness, he's lost more weight, or he's lost this, or he's lost that. And it kind of hits all at once. And it terrifies me, but I just have to block it from my mind. I mean, it's a game of constant denial, and it's the only way to survive.
Yeah, so. I wonder if because something that I experience whenever it's a very different situation, but like when my dad died, like that was sort of like I was like in this immediate shock for a while, and then I was able to distract myself and live my life. And now I often consider myself like a very happy, well-adjusted person. But then it's like when I'm falling asleep at night, it's like sometimes I will just get like just injected with just cold ice in my veins, and it's like, oh, this is happening, like this is the reality. And like that, and it and I would sometimes literally be shaking, and it would take me a minute to like calm down and like get back to, well, you can't do anything about it and you gotta go to sleep, or you gotta get up and go to work, or It's kind of like every now and then it's like you realize the gravity of the situation that you've just sort of gotten used to existing with.
Yeah, you have to have some level of, whether we call it denial or shifting your brain to focus on something else. You can't. I don't think. I don't think we're designed to live in this constant state. I have to live with the reality that I have ALS pretty much every minute of every day, because pretty much anything I'm trying to do is affected by a difficulty in doing it. And so I'm constantly reminded that whether it's trying to do something on my phone or walking or picking something up or going to pee or anything. But for Bevin, it's harder. We all live in this denial that this is really happening, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
But when
I
you're
think
laying in bed at night, or when you're waking up, or when and the little squirrels start running in your head, and it's just like, this is really happening. This thing is coming for me, and it's sobering and it's tough.
I think the hardest part has been this has been confined to your arms and hands for so long.
Yeah.
And I guess starting maybe back in March, it really started to affect your legs. And
Mm-hmm.
I know the story. I know how this goes, but there was a part of me that was just like, well, maybe he's just kind of an oddball case where it just stays in his arms, And when it started to go for your legs, I was like, oh God, no, 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 no. Because it just, and,
Mm-hmm.
again, and this is something that I don't know if anybody with ALS is watching or will be watching this show. Dave's ALS is definitely slower than most people's.
Yeah.
Dave's had his for 3.5 years now. Probably he's had it for 4.5 years based on when he first got symptoms. And 50% of people with ALS don't make it past 3 years. 80% don't make it past 5 years. I'm pretty sure Dave's going to be here 1.5 years from now. So that kind of puts things in perspective, where every time I get frustrated and upset, I just try to remind myself, we're lucky. This could be going so much faster.
Hashtag blessed. Hashtag blessed. Because obviously it's God's hand on me.
Praise the
Well, I
Lord.
want to
Praise Him. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, it's the randomness. There's no reason why. It's just, well, there probably is a medical reason why. We just don't know enough about ALS to know that. I mean, they know what is happening with ALS, but they don't know what's causing it to happen, and they don't know
Yeah,
what
that's
triggers it to
that's
happen.
the challenging part of all this. They can't figure out the cause, so they can't figure out any kind of treatment for it. And so that's what all the research is about, what little research there is.
There's actually a lot of research going on, and especially really looking at now genetics and CRISPR and all these type of things. But still, the research for ALS, until we can really get some advancement in that area, is really trying to mitigate, trying to slow down the progression. It's not solving the problem or finding a cure.
Yeah,
And
and
you'll
and
hear about
we're doing any kind of treatment that we can. I mean, we're happy to try anything.
now.
But
Dave was in a study, and he if you look it up, it was called CNMAU8. It was gold nanoparticles, and if you look it up, even as recently as July, that came out with articles saying that it decreases ALS mortality and blah blah blah. But if you start reading the fine print on all of these things, they're talking about months, maybe extending a few months.
yeah,
When
so
people
that's
don't
the
live more
thing.
than 2 or 3 years, a few months, what is the big difference? And I mean,
It
I'll take
is.
a few
You
months, don't get
take
me
what
wrong, but
you take what you can get, but and we will try what's out there, but the things that are out there are not like earth shaking. They're not like changing the course of, like when the AIDS crisis was here and they found a treatment for AIDS. It wasn't a cure. Excuse me. It wasn't a cure. It wasn't a cure for HIV, but it was a treatment that allowed them to live with it.
yeah.
I would take that. I would take that with ALS. I don't care if you fucking cure it. Just give me something that will allow me to live. there's nothing like that on the horizon. Everything that they're doing is saying it'll buy you 6 months, it'll help you extend your, and yeah, we'll take that. But um, any kind of excitement you see in the ALS community is a little bit tempered by the fact that we all know that this is not a game changer. It's just, yeah, it's going to buy me a few more months, and I'm going to be happy for that. Marit, I thank you for your super chat, and I see your comment, and I wanted to touch on this, and I might get emotional, but just bear with me. Um, she says, I can't help but grieve for how this disease is robbing your body, but very selfishly, I grieve for knowing such a lovely person who I will lose too soon. It makes me fear for Bevin as well. Um, so that's the thing I'm most cognizant of on a daily basis. And that's where I'm really, really counting on you folks, this community, to be there for her. Um, After she gives of herself so much in these years, and then I go, and she's still here, and Genevieve's still here, and the people I care about. I'm asleep, and I'm not feeling anything, but they're the ones that are left without me. And gosh, guys, just be there for each other, okay? That's all I'm asking.
Of course. Yeah, you're making me cry. But there's no doubt about that. I'm glad that you brought up earlier the tragedy that is that when your disease progresses to a point, you're right that it is weird to call it progress, um,
Yeah, yeah,
where you can't speak and you do need to use various devices to talk, or you have to say no to going out with people, that is when people get uncomfortable and they turn away. And it's and it what's so frustrating is that is when you need people the most.
yeah.
And I think the same is true with grief. It's after your partner is gone, people don't know what to say to you. You know, they can
Mm-hmm.
say thoughts and prayers, but that's because they know that there's nothing that you could actively do to make it better, or to change things. But the best thing you can do is just to be there and be supportive.
Yeah, and it's up to me also. And thank you, Native Atheist American Outcast, that covers all the things for your Antichrist 666. I'm aware that it's also up to me to not shrink back and to put myself out there. It'd be easier just to not try to go to the concert. It'd be easier to not try to go be with friends because there is so much that could go wrong. I could fall. I could any number of things as things progress. Um, but what I've also found is that people are willing to help. I mean, I was remembering when I was uh, with Nicole earlier this week, last week when I won the with the music trivia thing. Bevin wasn't with me. She couldn't go that night, and so I went ahead. She dropped me off, and she had to do some other things with her dad. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go on anyway. And I knew that I would probably need to ask for help to eat, and I did, and Nicole was just more than happy to help. She was not. She didn't even hesitate, and so I've got to be willing to put myself out there and risk things if I want to keep living life and grabbing the moments. The alternative is to shrink back and just hide in the house and not try to do anything. And I need to be willing to. People look at me, wonder what's wrong with him. Why is that grown woman feeding that man? Or she's thinking, why do I have to feed this guy? I don't. We've only been friends a few months. Is she really willing to do that? But I thought, you know what? I think she's that kind of person. So let's go for it.
Mhm.
So I've got to be willing to put myself out there too, and it's a two-way street. And if I do that, I see more people not shrink back and more people willing to engage and interact with me.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
I do have a question for you on that, but I also know that we have a call um, that I think would be really nice to get to, so I can hold off until
Thank you, Mara.
we take this if
Okay,
you'd like.
you won't forget your question then, right?
No, I won't.
Yes, let's take this call from Mark in California. He, him. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Dave.
How are you doing?
Good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Good. We had an email exchange a little while ago back. I'm a hospice volunteer,
Oh, okay.
and I've had several cases. I've had several ALS cases, and it's interesting because ALS is such a hard disease that it's something a lot of the hospice volunteers don't want to deal with because it's heart-wrenching. And I've been deeply touched with my ALS case. And you see, the thing is, there's a couple of hospices in town. There's visiting nurses, and then there's Hospice of Santa Barbara. And Hospice of Santa Barbara doesn't charge. And because we don't charge, we're not constricted by some arbitrary 6-month limit, or you know, the insurance say we'll pay for this, and then you're done. And certain conditions like ALS, Parkinson's, or Alzheimer's, or whatever, you can have somebody that's really high needs. That death is not imminent.
Yeah.
And they need help. And so, you know, sometimes, like, it's called Respite Care. I will come in and just sit in while the primary caregiver can go out and do whatever they want. They can run errands, go for a run, go meet a friend, have some alone time, whatever. And, but, you know, I had one case that I was on for 4.5 years. And you grow attached. Yeah, I was out 4.5 years. And I had another guy. I know, I'm just telling this because I know you know all this stuff.
Yeah.
But ALS, it doesn't always present the same way. So your presentation is not typical. And I know
that. Yeah.
There is such a thing as there's no such thing as a typical presentation. I've had a couple of cases where they lost their ability to talk. One guy had money matters, you know, the healthcare system is so messed up. But like one guy had money, and they were able to bank his voice when they knew they were going to have to give him a ventilator and tracheotomy and do the whole deal.
Yeah.
So then later he had eye tracking software where he could compose full sentences with just his eyes.
Yeah.
And then it would play using his voice that they had banked.
Yeah, that's becoming a much more common thing. And actually there's a foundation. I'm in trouble now because I was supposed to do voice banking years ago, but I've been busy traveling the world and doing podcasts and stuff. But no, that's really a good point, Mark, because there's actually a foundation called the Gleason, Team Gleason, that I'm connected with that actually pays for people to do that now, to do voice banking for those that can't afford it, because it's a couple $1,000, I think, to do to get the software set up and get it all done. And what that does is the eye gaze machine, the Toby machine that you would use later to communicate via your eyes, is going to be using your own voice instead of a mechanical voice, so that the people who are listening to you, the people who are listening to you get to hear your own voice. It's not as clear as what I'm saying right now, but it's better than some machine talking like, you know, that guy in 2001.
It still sounds robotic.
Yeah.
It still sounds robotic. But also, not every ALS patient loses their voice.
Exactly.
There's been a lot of improvement.
I've had 2 ALS patients. I had 2 patients that could talk right up until the day they died.
Wow.
You know,
there has been a lot of improvement, though, on the voice banking. And I was just referring you to that. There's a person with ALS right now who does a podcast purely through his voice.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's his voice bank, but through a device. So where it sounds a little bit robotic, it's not, it has inflection. It definitely has it's very listenable,
Yeah.
when you wouldn't think it would be. And it allows him to continue to do very much like what Dave does, do outreach and talk to people, converse with people that otherwise he wouldn't be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
I know, it's amazing. It's truly amazing. And yeah, I've had I can't talk about who they are, but I've had a couple of quite well-known people. That one was a political activist. That it was amazing. I mean, I met Elizabeth Warren in his living room.
Oh man.
You know. Yeah. And he's a crusader for healthcare reform. And but you know, when people, it's like with handicapped people, it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's tough.
So people don't want to make eye contact with somebody that is spastic or is in a wheelchair, because it's just, that could be me. And it's just, I understand how it makes people uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunate. And I want to say one thing about grief.
Okay.
Because, you know, you're worried about Bevin and you're worried about Genevieve after you're gone. And the way I look at grief is that's the price you care for giving a shit,
Mm-hmm.
for caring, right? You know, and it's so like when you feel that pain of separation, that pain is only there because you treasured what you had.
It's true.
And if somebody could come along and say, oh, I could take away your pain, no problem. I'll make you feel you don't have any grief. You won't feel any pain. The price for that is I will also take away your memories. No one takes that deal.
Yeah.
Because the memories are so precious that the pain is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, don't be afraid of grieving. That's the price you pay for caring. And
That's
caring
a good
is
point.
worth it. You should not live your life without caring.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The alternative to
So
not
I think you're
feeling
doing a
that
lot
pain
of good
is.
work, man.
Well, thanks.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Well, I was just going to echo what you said. The alternative to not feeling grief and pain and loss is to just not be a caring person and to not have people in your life that you care about or that care about you. And that's really an unfortunate
There
way
you
to
go.
live life. So yeah, you really
Of course.
made a great point tonight. That's excellent.
So I just want to give you some accolades because I think you're doing great work, not just for ALS, but for dying out loud. It's such an important thing. It's like, how is it possible that death is one thing everybody has in common, every culture, everybody in the planet, and it's still a taboo subject?
Because it's uncomfortable, like you said. It's something we don't like to think about. We don't like to talk about, but it's common to us all. And yeah, it's a tough subject. It just is, and it always will be, because it's that final frontier.
It's unfortunate, though.
We don't know what's on the other side of it. Our job, our only thing that we can do with that is to make the most of this life, to carpe the fucking diem.
That's
right.
It. And so I just want to give you some props, man, because
Thank you,
I've
man.
been following you for a couple of years, and I'm a big fan of the atheist community of Austin, and I watch a lot of those shows, and I love watching you guest host on various shows and The Lion and whatever. And I just really admire that you're not going to go quietly into that night.
Mm-mm. Nope. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate you calling. It was a good call. I appreciate you calling.
You guys take care.
Okay, buddy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Wow, that's good. All right, Genevieve, your question. Oh, we had a super chat come.
We
Heathen
did.
Queen. Hey, sweetheart. Heathen Queen, thank you for your super chat. I feel lucky to exist on this planet on the same time as Dave. A privilege and honor. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, my. I love all you people.
Nah. You are incredibly special. I echo the same sentiments all around. I feel very fortunate. Hashtag blessed.
It's going to be the theme for this show.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm thinking back to how we started the show, and um, it's interesting that a concern I had was not making you uncomfortable, and it seems like what is challenging for you is you're worried that you're making other people uncomfortable, and I find it endearing that behind the scenes our internal voices are just worried about the people that we care about. But the question that I had, it really kind of ties the whole story together, about your life in evangelical Christianity. Because I know a lot of people after they deconstruct, they struggle a lot with purity culture and all the lingering beliefs that can hang on after that belief in a God is gone.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest ones is that gendered hierarchy. And the man is the strong one in the house that does everything for everybody else. And then, the woman takes care of the babies and does what the man says. And then the baby's like, sit down, shut up, and go to church and don't be an ass. And like, that basically covers it. And I was wondering, you know, because it's been such a short amount of time since you've gone from being, seemingly completely not disabled at all to absolutely needing help. And um, I was so grateful when you were asking for help. I will cut your food all day, any day. I feel like I'm finally using my skills as a chef for good. But
That's right.
I have to wonder, how was it for you to, sort of go from, or I guess, you know, is it difficult for you to go from being, the strong breadwinner man of the house to somebody asking people for help so much?
That's probably the hardest part of this for me. I've been an independent man basically since I was 17 years old. I mean, if you read my book, all of you should have read it by now. God damn, seriously. Um, you saw that at my senior year, I lived with my grandmother and pretty much unsupervised my senior year of high school. And so from the year of age 17, I was pretty much figured it out myself and just doing. And I lived the kind of life that wasn't really well planned or structured. I just kind of was winging it and figuring it out as I went along, and was very independent and very self-sufficient, and never got any handouts or help. Just figured it out. Um, so to lose that has been the hardest thing. When I finally had to give up the car keys, just those kinds of steps. When I know that I'm never going to do that again, I will never have the independence and the freedom to just go get a cup of coffee, to go get lunch, to go down to the store and get something I need. And I have to get Bevin to do all of that, unless I'm doing something with a friend. That's been the hardest adjustment to make, is to lose that independence and that sense of strength, and to know that I can't be the strong protector. I mean, I joke, if somebody messes with Bevin, I'm going to flail my spaghetti arms at them until they're whipped like a wet noodle, because that's about all I could do. But I have to give up. I mean, I just have to adjust mentally to the physical adjustments that I make. And those are hard. I'm not going to lie.
But conversely, I don't see Dave that way at all. I mean, he has a very strong personality, but I
In
mean,
case you didn't know.
I mean, when he makes his mind up, he's going to do something, he gets it done. I mean, here he is struggling to do anything with his hands, and he's written a book, he's done a podcast. I mean, he's or set up this, not podcast, he interviews on podcasts. And I remember when he told me, well, I think I'm going to do a YouTube show. I was like, well, maybe you could do one once a month. And he goes, oh, no, it's going to be every week. I'm like, no, no, this is too much. And yet here we are a year later, and he pulled it off. So, and I tell Dave, I said, because I see you as a strong person, as somebody, and he does still. I mean, he bakes the bacon, and he brings home the bacon, and I because I'm not able to work right now because I'm having to be there, to take care of him. I I forget sometimes its limitations, and you would think, how could you forget? You're around it all day, and I said, I don't know how it is. I just don't see him as disabled. So something will happen, and I'll go to hand him something that he couldn't possibly pick up, and he'll just look at me like, have you lost your mind? And I'm like, please don't think that I'm losing my mind, but it's because I see you as a fully capable person, and that's why I forget. And
Yeah. And
so
that's easy to understand that, because I do. It would be different if I was laying in the bed all day, unable to do
yeah,
anything. But the fact that I can do some things and get up and go about my day with help from Bevin. But for the most part, once I get certain things done, I'm pretty autonomous, and she does her thing for the day and I do my thing for the day. I may need help here and there, but if I was completely bedridden and completely dependent, then she wouldn't forget that I need this, that, or the other. But because I can do some things, it's easy for her to get busy and forget, oh, well, he was going to make a coffee, and of course he can't pour that coffee. What was I thinking? But that's just her saying that I do see you as capable, and so she'll say, take it as a compliment.
not
So
that you forgot,
no,
not that
no,
you
not at
forgot.
all, not ever. What would you say, hon? And then I want to get onto some forward-looking things, but what would you say, as we're looking behind the scenes with ALS? What would you say is the when you see me struggle the most or get most frustrated, or what is it that you see me uh, have the most trouble with mentally, if you, other than what I just said about losing my freedom? Can you think
Well,
of
your
anything?
freedom, your
Mm,
ability to walk out of the house when you want to.
mm-hmm.
You're having to sometimes work with around other people's schedule because, and I say this because I think anybody who's ever been a caregiver, there's a balancing thing because you want to be able to be there for somebody, but you can't always be right there at that very second they need help. But you also have to remember, if you're so used to be able to do everything for yourself, and all you're trying to do is plug a light switch in, and you
Yeah.
ask somebody, can you come over and help me just plug this light switch in? And they're in the middle of something. So you're like, well, give me a few minutes. You're like, I don't want to wait a few minutes to plug this light switch in. I never had to before. So you've got two opposing feelings where one person doesn't want to have to stop the minute they're requested and run over and do something because then you're just always feeling like you're interrupted, where the other person is feeling like they're being a burden because they're having to ask for little things all the time.
And the other part of that is I like to do as much as I can for as long as I
Oh,
can. So I'm over there trying to put my
a
socks
heavy
on,
sighing.
and I'm struggling and I'm grunting and she'll, what's wrong? What's wrong? Nothing. I'm just trying to put my socks on. Well, I'll help you. I'll help you. I don't want you to help me. I want to do it. I want to do it myself, mommy. I want to do it myself.
But it's heartbreaking to watch him struggle. And, especially when it's something that he's taking 5 minutes to do that you can do like that.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking. And
Mhm.
so
So
there's those
that's
type of things that cause
it's a
tension that
given.
you don't
It's a
want to
give and
have.
take, and there's a lot of tension that comes with this. There's a lot of stress naturally that we deal with, and it's just the reality of our situation, and we have to give each other a lot of space and a lot of grace, to borrow a Christian word, for our stress and anxiety that pops up multiple times throughout a given day. And we have to be quick to forgive and recognize that we're both doing the best we can, and no one's forgetting about the other person. It's just life gets in the way, and it's hard. And so
If
that's
you ever
that.
get a chance to watch Steve Gleason, the person who set up the Gleason Foundation, there's a documentary made called Gleason, And it is really, I don't know, it's very impressive because so many documentaries are made where they kind of glamorize the person or glamorize the patient or glamorize the caregivers. And I was really surprised some of the things that
Oh, you'll get mad though
they
when who was it that
put
took
in
him to
there.
the healing
Oh,
service?
yes, there
Someone
was a scene
was it
where
his mother-in-law or something? His
I don't know if
wife
it was a family member or a friend, but they took Steve
took
and
him
his wife to a
to get a
healing service,
healing. Oh
and the
God.
wife was not into it at
The
all. She was
wife
like,
was mad, and it'll make
Yeah.
you mad watching it because he just, of course,
especially
I
with
want to
her.
be healed. And then he tried to run and fell down, and it was just, God, it made me mad. The people that prey on that kind of stuff.
But it
But
was it went over a few years as far because in the beginning he had just been diagnosed. He was able to talk because they took a lot of videos from them recording themselves and that type of
mm-hmm,
thing. And it just addressed a lot of things, but you saw over time that it was really just hard on Steve and his wife.
mm-hmm.
And they still both love each other. They're still together today, but it was hard. And
It's tough on
it's
relationships. It's
tough.
everyone says it's tough on relationships, and yeah, it's just that's just the harsh truth of it. We want to spend some time, I think, talking about where we're at and where we're going forward. We've got some things in the works, some plans that I guess, the reality is the biggest challenge we're facing that needs immediate attention. Well, and when I say immediate, within the next year, is we've got to figure out our living situation because the house that we're in has stairs up to the bedroom. So we've either got to reconfigure this house
And nothing.
or get a different place. And we really don't know what to do. Anybody has ideas? If you got a spare house sitting around that's one level on the beach, we'll take it. Um,
We'll trade.
we'll trade. We really are open to moving. There's reasons, good and bad reasons for. I mean, we're just throwing this out there because we don't know what the future holds, and who knows what situations are out there. And ideally, when we're talking about caregivers and help, we've talked about having someone live with us, and we provide a place to live for someone who's got the freedom and flexibility to make a change like that, and to be a part of our household. And it would be a very specific, definite. There wouldn't be very many people that would fit this niche. Just to be honest, it would have to be a very specific, unique situation. But it could happen, and we're open to it. And if we had a person that was available to be a part of our household, we could all share. Just it's not so much the care, but, of helping to dress and helping to eat, but just a ride somewhere, you know, for an afternoon out where it's always on Bevin to do that, or to be there if Bevin's gone for a weekend to see her daughter or something. Those kind of scenarios, to have that third person or that third couple just to be available to help. Those are very real needs that could really change the game for us in a lot of ways in the short term. Um, so those are things we've talked about, just putting it out there to this channel, to this people who watch this. These are the things that we talk about every day. Just yesterday, we're talking, well, could we make this room a bedroom and put my office in there and put a door here? And we went last weekend and looked at motorhomes. Is that an option? Do we get a motorhome that we can live in and travel with and not have to unpack and unload and load and those kind of things? But then there's very few motorhomes that are equipped. So then we don't know. You can tell I'm grasping here for answers because we don't have any easy answers because there are none. I see Heathen Queen. Where are y'all located? We're in Charlotte, North Carolina. So Jessica, you moving in? But you know what? There may be that situation where someone says, you know what, I need a change, and I would like, for a season, for a year or 2 years. Let's talk about that. We don't know, and so we're just throwing it out there, and so we might want to move somewhere. We might want to move. What we need is to get away from stairs. To get where I'm not going up and down stairs to the bedroom and the shower, because
And you
that's
need an accessible bathroom.
yeah, because
Accessible shower.
that's going to become a problem before too long. I would say by this time next year, we will have needed to solve this. I would say, wouldn't you, honey?
Yeah, and it's hard because to renovate, that takes time. You have to figure out the finances on that. And honestly, just to find a quality contractor and construction person to do the job, that's the hardest thing of all,
Yeah.
especially right now. And then to move, then you got to clean out the house and sell a lot of stuff and
Well, when you're talking about renovations, then you've got your
move.
house torn up for 10 months.
And your house is torn up, so then you don't have any
again,
bathroom.
There's
But it's
not
just
an
hard.
easy answer.
Yeah, and so we kind of start looking into it, and we start to feel so overwhelmed. We're just like, okay, I'm tired. Let's go to bed.
Let's watch a movie.
Let's watch a movie.
That is so true. Okay, we got to tell them this, because the only way we get through this is with morbid humor from time to time. Macabre humor, as Bevin says. So when we want to unplug and forget about what we're dealing with, we watch sometimes we watch good movies and stuff. We watched a good one the other night. Sometimes we just want to find some
Bad TV.
brain mush TV that doesn't make you think. It doesn't make you feel. You watch it and you go, God damn, this is bad. Let's watch another episode. Y'all all know what I'm talking about. Y'all just won't admit it. So we found this show called what was it called?
We saw the preview. The preview looked so bad. We're like, well, let's see how bad it can really be. It was awful. And we watched every single episode.
one night till 4 a.m. One more episode. One more. Oh God, no! Don't leave us hanging. One more episode. So it was dated and related. Where these?
Oh my gosh.
So, dated and related.
Yes, Dave has watched every single episode of Dated and Related.
So it was, and Bevin said, so we were watching it the other night, and we'd had a drink or two. So we got a little silly. But Bevin said, I know an idea. Why don't they do a show with just twins? You have to be twins to be in the show. Bevin's a twin. And there were a couple of pairs of twins in the show, because they were siblings that were kind of being their wingman in the dating game, is what it amounts to. So I thought, Bevin said to you, let's do one where you have to be twins. And I said, I'll get one better. Let's do one where you have to have a terminal disease to be on the show. And we could call it Dying While Dating. How sick am I, y'all? How sick am I?
Somehow that seemed a lot funnier after a couple of bourbons and cokes, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Sick humor.
Anyway. Well, now I'm just thinking of other names for what that show could be.
What'd you come up with?
I mean, I feel like One Night Stand is like finite enough.
One night left. Oh my.
Yeah. But it's so true. I don't watch trash TV ever. I've never liked watching reality TV. The night that my dad died, my sister and I stayed up and we binge watched Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it, because it is crazy Mormon drama. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Mormon housewives. Oh my, they must really get crazy drinking their iced tea, huh? They slip up and drink the iced tea.
One owns a tequila company. They're drinking. Like, I think that the city, like, I want to say that Salt Lake City has even come out and been like very disappointed in the light that this show is painting them in.
Yeah,
because,
they're
of course they're drinking. But
Cairo Wolf super chat.
Wow.
100 clams, and he says, this is for Bev. Love y'all. Salute. Which leads me to this big announcement. This is birthday Eve. Someone's having a birthday tomorrow. Who would that be? That woman with that beautiful smile?
We both have nice smiles.
You have the most beautiful smile, though.
Doesn't she, though? It's not even close. Happy birthday,
Yes,
darling.
tomorrow my twin and I were born. How many years ago? Oh,
Shall I tell them? Because I'm going to lead up to your announcement for your fundraiser. She turns 60 tomorrow. 60. So tell them what we're doing. And I saw that happy birthday from Sheila was in the chat saying happy
happy
birthday, Bevin.
birthday. Oh, thank you, Sheila.
She's a sweetheart. We love Sheila. Thank you for all the chats. I've been watching, and you guys are just so awesome. So Beth, in relation to your birthday, tell us about the fundraiser. And there's a link that's in the show notes, but I think Ethan's also going to put it in the chat, or maybe Genevieve is. I'm not sure. But
Okay, well, we don't have it totally set up yet.
Okay.
But I'll give you a little backstory on it, and that is. Actually, a few months ago, we got a phone call from an organization that sponsors a fund to basically provide an adventure to somebody with ALS. And someone who knew us had told this organization that we had been wanting to go to Europe for, gosh, since he got diagnosed, really. And when we thought we had it organized back in early 2020, we had it planned where we were going to be able to go. And we had a lot of places to stay with people that invited us to stay with them and speaking engagements and that sort of thing. Well, you know, the rest of the story with COVID, that got completely wiped out. And we just kept, you know, hoping in the back of our minds that could happen again. But realistically, when we tried to go to California and was pretty much doing the same thing back in March, staying at people's homes and just trying to do a bunch of different cities, it became overwhelming for Dave. And he told me, he said, I just can't envision going to Europe now. This is just too hard. California is too hard. I can't even begin to imagine trying to go to all these European countries. And we just sort of thought it was off the table until some friends of ours entertained the idea of going on a cruise. Because with a cruise, you don't have to go in and out of hotels. They just kind of take you to each little port and each little
the hard
port.
part of traveling, and I've had to cancel other speaking gigs where it's one-off or a long road trip, because it's the unpacking, the unloading, the loading and unloading. Bevin has to do all of that, and the long car drives and those kind of things. That's what was challenging about travel, and that's why the cruise was appealing. So go ahead, Bev. Sorry.
So that was appealing, but that certainly was far more expensive than staying in a bunch of people's homes in Europe. And so they called us and they said, we want to provide this opportunity for you to do. And so we did. And in fact, I've been really busy since we got back, but I want to post more videos and pictures of that on Dave's page and site about our trip. But I have to say it was I don't want to use the word blessing. It was such an opportunity for us to be able to do this, but it's hard to fully enjoy something like this when you know there's so many other people that would like to have that same chance. So I was just racking my brain thinking, what can I do to help bring awareness to this fund, to this ability to be able to provide these type of adventures for people. And at the same time, it also been playing in the back of my head as something, what can I do to mark this big birthday that I'm actually, before I would have been horrified to turn 60. Now I'm grateful, having been with Dave these past few years. And so people who know me know that I love to run. I have run long distance. I've run some marathons, but my last one was about 10 years ago. And I just thought, you know, what if I ran a mile for every year, 60 miles? And actually, there isn't really a 60-mile race. There's a 100K race, just 62 miles. And I thought, you know, I'm just going to train for it and run and try to get sponsors for each mile I run that we can use for this fund so that other people can have these adventures. And I'm really excited about it. I'm scared. I've been scared to tell anybody for fear I'm going to fall flat on my face or get
Now it's out there. You have to do it. You've made the commitment. Boom. You're in.
Well, I wanted to do this earlier. The run I'm going to be doing. I've got all this information right now on a Facebook group page that I'm inviting everyone to join. I don't know if Ethan can put the link in. I might be able to grab it here. And then the actual fundraising site is getting set up. So there's nothing on there right now. It just says to be added, but it gives a little bit more information. And I'm starting the group more because I don't want it just to be go here, donate here, blah, blah, blah. I want people to know more about what's going on, both from the running aspect and how do you train for 100K, what I'm going to be doing and how you do this when you're older versus younger, because there's a huge difference.
And won't the website also have some things on other people who've received this grant from Hark?
That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Then also sharing information about ALS, sharing information about just current things going on within the community, but really also introducing you to people that we've gotten to know and continue to learn about in the ALS community that it's really amazing that, what they've had to face and their outlook on life. Some of them do have bucket list things they want to do. Some have been able to do them. A lot of people aren't able to. And just getting to know these people, I just think is really important because it puts meaning behind what we're trying to do and what we're trying to provide for others. And so so what I'm really asking everybody to do right now is just to join my Facebook page. And
once we get the fund set up, then you can start
then
donating.
you'll see a link to that. But even
and
if
the race
not
is going to be, the run is going to be where? Physically?
The run is going to in Ottawa, Kansas, which is it's about 45 minutes outside of Kansas City. And looking at you, Daryl Ray, want to say hi.
So if you live, yeah, we're going to stay with Daryl. I'm sure he's always said we're always welcome there. But if you live near there, it's going to be in March.
It's going to be March 25th. It starts March 25th.
Near there, come join us. We'll have a big party at the race, and March 25th. So all that'll be on the page. Before I get to we got a call connected to this, Bevin, that we want to get to. I want to say thank you to LS for your super chat. Thank you for that. But let's take this call from someone named Deb in Florida.
Hi,
her. Hey, Deb.
Hey, Deb.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
I just wanted to say hello, and I'm so excited that you're doing the race for Hark, and I just wanted to talk a little bit, if I could, about Hark and about us.
Sure.
Yes, Deb is the one who connected us with Hark. So go ahead, Deb, and kind of bring our viewers into that.
My younger brother passed away from ALS in 2014, and I became involved with Hark and many other organizations after that, after caring for him. But one of the things that your listeners might not know about ALS is that among many other things, it's nicknamed the bankruptcy disease because after insurance, in order to keep your loved one at home, if they do become completely paralyzed, like my brother did, it's about $250,000 out of pocket. So that's a lot of money that most people can't afford, and they're forced to make choices, about whether their children can go to camp or whether they can have extra food, or pay the rent. So one of the things that Hark does is they provide mini grants to families for things that you would never even think of. And I'll just give you two examples and then I'll, pass the conversation on. But one of the things we did for somebody was there was a person up in Maine who their power went out all the time. And this person had made the choice to be vented and trached. And so he was afraid of suffocating every time the power went out. And they had no money for a generator. So we were able to help them get a generator for the house. Another example is a woman, middle-aged woman, her 28-year-old son had to move home with his younger daughter, 7 years old, and she lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, and there were no money for caregivers. And she hadn't had a haircut in over 2 years, and all she wanted was a haircut. So we were able to give her a spa day. And those are just two little instances, and there are things that are much more serious.
But they were big for her. That's the point.
But
they were big
and that's
for
the
her.
thing. If you can imagine living life like that. So the adventure part of Hark is actually separate. There was a young man who had helped Hark a lot, and he was a great adventurer, and he had died in a motorcycle accident. So those monies are raised totally separately.
Yeah.
So just wanted to give you that background. And Dave and Bevin, you guys rock. Love you so much.
I love you, Deb.
I did go into more detail on the actual fundraising site that I think will be set up soon about who Josh Valentine was, and that this particular fund that supported us for the trip, that's separate from the funds that go towards needs, and certainly Hark welcomes any donations people want for that. Just in the sense, I think the Dying Out Loud message has been wanting people to enjoy the moments they have right now. And so I felt like the Josh Valentine Adventure Fund really went hand in hand with that, as far as wanting to be, because of the fact that a lot of people, they may have the money to go on trips, but they're not going to spend the money because they know what's coming up. I mean, that's our case. Every time we want to do something, we think, we need to save for this. We need to save for a van. We need to save for moving and that sort of thing. So you don't take the trips. You don't do those opportunities, and yet you're not going to really remember.
Right. And I can tell you, since COVID, I don't know what's going on, but fundraising has been absolutely brutal for these smaller organizations.
Yeah.
I've been fundraising for years for different things, and I'm just able to make a fraction of what I used to be able to make. And I don't know if it's COVID, if it's the economy, if it's people, our country is so politically divided right now. People are donating more to political causes, and it's like this perfect storm where organizations like ours are making next to nothing.
Yeah, and the other part, well, we're hoping to put a dent in that. We want to do a little bit to work toward that. My goal is ambitious for this fundraiser for Bevin. So if we're doing 60 for 60, I'm hoping we can raise $60,000. And we've got a lot of time between now and then to do that, and hopefully we can get there. Because the reality is that the people who would want to take these trips and do these things, the time is limited to when you can actually do something physically. I know my time's running out to do things, and a year from now, I won't be able to do what I could do this year. And so getting in a situation where these folks can have access to funds that help them live some moments, that's very important to Bevin and myself. So Deb, you're a dear friend, but Deb was, some of you know Deb, you've met her. We got connected with Deb through an ALS organization, and we've just become dear friends. We've spent time with her at her place in Florida, and we intend to be there again when the weather gets cold here. We're coming, Deb. We're coming.
Yep, can't wait for you to get down here.
So, it's what the irony of this hideous disease, ALS, bringing us together with this dear friend is just, I don't know. It's just an irony, but here we are. So we're thankful for whatever we get.
We've met so many really neat people. It's just that wouldn't have happened. And it's just amazing.
It's so true. And Dave, I'm so happy that you got your voice banking done like you promised.
Yeah, me too.
Really proud of you.
Yeah, me too. I have three moms now harassing me.
I'm going to have this whole community harassing you.
I can
My
send you an email.
birthday's tomorrow, and you said you
Oh,
would have it done
God.
for my birthday.
Oh, God. I'm getting there. No,
So
I just,
I'm gonna get off the phone. I just wanted to comment on one other thing. I don't remember who said it, but we were talking about the medicines and the treatments, and that we really don't have much that's viable right now, and things only maybe extend your life for a few months or a short time.
right.
I can only tell you that I remember during the AIDS crisis, and I know you've heard this story by me many times, one of my closest friends contracted the disease in the very early times when people were so scared. People were losing their jobs. People were not getting health insurance. Funeral homes didn't want to bury them. Had my friend lived about 9-10 months longer than he did, he'd probably be alive today, because from the one medicine came another to the cocktail that leaves people, the virus undetectable in people now. So there is a reason for those,
Yeah.
short-term drugs.
I hear you.
Well,
Yeah.
that is what I keep reminding Dave, because he'll get a little bit pessimistic, and I'm like, Dave, my
Realistic.
feeling is we're gonna do this, and if it buys you a few months, and then something else comes along and it buys you a few months, because I just want to buy time, because the longer we can buy time and Dave can stay healthy enough to want to live, I think that is a critical point. Then maybe something will come down the line. Yeah, I do have hope. How can you live without hope?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, we do.
And just one other thing, if any of your listeners are from Central New Jersey, I have a young woman whose mom went into is in the hospital and in rehab now for a while, and they're desperately looking for a good caregiver. They have the money to pay, but right now finding caregivers is a critical shortage. So
Okay.
you contact Dave and he'll contact me.
Central New Jersey, you said?
Central Jersey, yeah.
Central Jersey. Okay. If you hear this and that's you, if you know someone there that could be a caregiver, and it pays, right, Deb? So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Send me an email and we'll connect you with Deb.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. Love you all.
Love you, Deb. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
calling in. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, we're almost out of time. We are out of time. Damn, I just now looked at the clock. This one, I just saw in the chat. Did you see that? Our buddy Greg Markowski says, Ottawa isn't that far from me. I'll be there.
Awesome.
We're going to have a party in Ottawa, Canada. Not Canada, Ottawa, Kansas. I started to say Canada. But no, that's March of next year, the fundraiser. There'll be more details. Go to did we put the link up in the chat? It's also in the show notes. So find the link to Bevin's Facebook page about the fundraiser, and she will be and you have to join the page, right? Join the group, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Just join the group.
Join the group, and you'll get updates, all that's going on. And when the fundraiser website is up, then you'll be able to start donating, and we can watch that total grow. Any other parting thoughts, Genevieve or Bevin?
Just really appreciate everybody's support and the people that listen to this show. It's just wonderful.
Yes, we love this community that's formed around this show. It's been fun to watch, hasn't it, Genevieve?
It's been really, really amazing. Really amazing.
You've shared with me many times how much a breath of life this is every Monday night for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've had a rough week or whatever, and you know what? I'll get to Monday and it'll be okay, because I'll be with my people there.
Yeah, you are my people. It's really special.
Yeah, it really is. So we thank you, all of you. Thank you for your super chat tonight. Like and subscribe if you're new here tonight. If you've got the bandwidth, become a Patreon supporter, and keep watching for that fundraiser, and wish Bevin a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And we will see you all next week.
Bye.